Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very honored. First, I will prove it's me.
So now that we know it's you with the suspenders, we can get started.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here. It's really an honor.
It's my honor to be here.
You're now celebrating 60 years of broadcasting. Just the beginning, right?
Well, I tell you, I can't believe that I've been 60 years on the air. I can't believe I'm 83 years old. I can't believe I'm still here. My father died of a heart attack when he was 46, and I was almost 10, and I thought I would die at 46. At 53, I had a heart attack, and later I had heart surgery. I've had diabetes. I've had all these things, but I keep on going. I think it's because I never lose my energy for what I do. And I love what I do. And if you love what you do, it's easy to keep going. So I don't even think I don't call it work. I don't go to work. You know, the last time I worked, I was a delivery boy for United Parcel Service. What United Parcel Service started as a delivery service for New York City department stores. We delivered for Macy's and Gimbels and Hearns and Saks. And I was an assistant on the truck. And from there, I went down to Miami, broke into radio, and that's the last time I worked, carrying packages. Because what I do is ask questions for a living. What a way to make a living, to meet all the people. I've interviewed every prime minister of Israel except Ben-Gurion.
All the others you've interviewed.
Someone asked me, who would you like to have interviewed that you missed? And I missed Fidel Castro. Other than that, I've interviewed, I think, every world leader. I interviewed, when I was 23 years old, Eleanor Roosevelt. Eleanor Roosevelt. When I told that to Hillary Clinton, she nearly fainted because she channels Eleanor Roosevelt. She believes she talks to Eleanor Roosevelt. I don't talk to Eleanor Roosevelt, but I interviewed her.
So if you've interviewed all the Israeli prime ministers, besides for Ben-Gurion, who's your favorite?
Well, I had a great deal of admiration for Yitzhak Rabin. When I was in Israel, I went with him as he campaigned. And he told me something I never forgot. I asked him, how could he, who fought so gamely for Israel, become so passionate about getting together with his enemies? And he said, no one hates war more than a warrior. That he knew what it's like to send men into battle and die. And he didn't want to face that again. And when he got killed, that was one of the saddest days of my life. So I liked them all, but Yitzhak Rabin was my favorite. You want a funny story about me with Israel?
Sure.
Okay. I imagine there might be some here today. The Mossad. The Mossad is Israel's secret service.
Right.
They're known as the toughest in the world. I'll tell you how I know they're the toughest in the world. Menachem Begin was coming to Washington to speak, and then they had a party for him at the Israeli ambassador's house in Washington, in the outskirts. And they invited 40 prominent Jewish people in Washington to come and have cocktails with them, with Prime Minister Begin. And I was invited, but I had a tape that day, so I got there a little late. And it was raining. And I drive in, I see the cul-de-sac, no cars, nothing, and there's the house. So I park my car. I get out of my car, I got an umbrella, I'm walking up to the house. Suddenly, a big black van pulls up, and out of the van comes Menachem Begin with the guys from the Mossad. And I'm walking, and the first guy on the Mossad pulls a gun out of his pocket, points it right at me, got it cocked, and a guy from behind me yells, "Stop!" I turn around, it's an American Secret Service man telling the Mossad guy not to shoot me. And I said to the Secret Service guy, was he going to shoot? And he says, oh, yeah. I said, well, wait a minute, why? He said, well, I forgot, we gave them instructions that there would be no cars on the street and no man would be on the street once the Prime Minister pulled up. Since you were on the street, the Secret Service guy forgot that they told him there would be no one on the street. So that guy would have shot me had the Secret Service guy not yelled. And then I could only imagine, I die, I go to heaven, and my mother says to me, what happened? How did you get here? Oh, the Israelis shot me on the street. And when I left that house, that Mossad guy was disappointed. He was visibly sad that he didn't kill me. So when you figure you're on the right side, Israel is tough.
So, talking about Israel being tough, you visited Israel back in 2015. You've been in the media for a long time. Does Israel get a fair rap in the media?
Well, to be fair, for a long time, it owned American media. For a long time, they did. I remember once when I was just starting in Miami, I had a debate between the head of the young Israeli group at the University of Miami and the young Egyptian group. And we had protesters that we would put an Egyptian on the air. So Israel had it pretty good for a while. Then the Palestinians got into PR, and they started strengthening their position. And as Alan Dershowitz so ably pointed out, they got involved in getting attention. And then Israel made some mistakes. Nobody's perfect. And that led them into so I think Israel now, I mean, at CNN, I know CNN get wrapped a lot. I was there 26 years. I never saw anything anti one side or the other at CNN. I thought we were always fair. Oh.
The crowd thinks otherwise.
No, but I will tell you, I'm only telling you from my observation as a journalist. I was there for 26 years. Christiana Amanpour, you think her husband is Jewish.
Come on.
Wait a minute. Her son was bar mitzvahed. You think she's anti-Semitic? Christiana Amanpour was a very good journalist, but I will tell you that Ted Turner was the fairest man I ever worked for. Wolf Blitzer is one of my oldest and dearest friends.
Former reporter for the Jerusalem Post.
Jerusalem Post is when I first met him. I have great respect for the Jew. I have never seen it. Now, if you may feel it and may think it or have proof of it, but I worked there. I have never seen or experienced a anti-Israel or a pro-Israel. I experienced what I thought were people trying to be fair and objective, which is all I ask. All I've ever done as an interviewer is I never brought opinions. I left my ego at the door. I never used the word I. The guest was the thing that counted. No one ever told me who was on or who could not be on. I never had a lawsuit. I never had anyone accuse me of being anti-Israel or violently pro. I'm personally pro-Israel. I'm Jewish. Jerusalem's my favorite city in the world. But I learned a lot from asking questions. And I asked Putin. I've interviewed him twice. I asked him, when he was at the head of the CIA, where was his favorite place to vacation? Where do KGB guys vacation? His favorite was Jerusalem. Uh-huh. He went to Jerusalem on vacation. Now, that's a shock. You ask good questions, you learn things, it's an answer.
Let me ask you, though, with this Jewish background and this affinity for Israel, how did that play into this role of being the ultimate interviewer? Do you think that Jewish identity is part of what brought you to this?
Mentioned, I had to interview Ahmadinejad, and that was tough because he was he said to me, first, I went to the Iranian consulate for lunch to set up this interview. And at the Iranian consulate in Washington were Marc Chagall paintings. There were like 5 of them. And the guy from Iran is telling me, "Any beautiful paintings?" And I said to him, "You know, he was Jewish." And the guy go, "What?" That was a great moment for me. I'm sure they might have taken him down. But so Ahmadinejad, I'm interviewing, he was very, obviously he knew his way around cameras. And so then he said to me, if there was a Holocaust, why wasn't the state of Israel given to put in Poland or in Germany, where the crime occurred? The crime didn't occur in the Middle East. Why was Israel given that portion? Why didn't they take half of Poland and make that Israel? And I said, hold it. Did you say if there was a Holocaust? And he said, yeah. I said, are you denying that? And we got off into a tangent. And it's the only time I think I've ever interviewed someone where I lost my composure. And it was very hard, especially with 25 Iranians standing all around, and I'm a Jewish guy sitting there with a guy and I'm arguing with him. But that was the only time. I always tried to put myself in the guest's shoes. Like, nobody thinks they're evil. Nobody combs their hair in the morning and says, boy, I'm a terrible person. I'm an evil person. So I try to learn what makes people think. Why do people act the way they act? Someone asked me, if you had interviewed Osama bin Laden, what would be your first question? Well, it wouldn't be, why did you bomb 3,000 people in 2001? My first question would have been, you were part of the richest family in Saudi Arabia. Why'd you leave? Now, I'm going to learn then what motivated him to be what he became, since he didn't say, I'm terrible. Now, I know if I lived with one of the richest families, I wouldn't leave. I'm Jewish. Stay. But that's what motivates me, is to try to learn why I consider someone evil. They don't consider themselves evil, so let's find out why they are the way they are.
You told the Jerusalem Post, we did an interview, David Brin, the managing editor.
Hold on. What did she say?
She's asking if you would have interviewed Adolf Hitler.
Well, Hitler. Well, obviously, I would have asked him, why didn't you stay being a painter? You weren't a bad painter. Why did you give up painting? What is it about the Jewish people that causes you to have such hate? We're on this planet for such a short amount of time. We're a blip. If you lived over 80, you had a pretty good life. You're a blip in eternity. Why would you hate someone because they're black or white or Arab or Jewish or Muslim or Catholic? Why, Adolf?
So what have you learned from interviewing Ahmadinejad and others who have this hatred?
What I've learned is I have no understanding of hate. I was raised in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, New York, to not have anything to I never used the N-word. I never hated anyone or disliked them because of what their color was. And I've never, in all the years I've been interviewing, I still don't understand, why do people kill each other? Why? Give me one good reason for war. I got a good idea. Let's go and shoot that guy because he lives over there and I want his house. Why?
I want to ask you about your good friend, Donald Trump, who you admitted that you didn't vote for him.
Oh, I know Donald for 35 years. I've been with him at Super Bowls. I've been with him through his 3 marriages. I traveled with him, had dinner with him. He took my wife to dinner when I had a heart procedure done in New York. He's always been very nice to me. But as Alan Dershowitz said, he is unpredictable. And while that can be good, it can be bad because I don't think Donald Trump has a true political philosophy. In other words, 10 years ago, he was for a single-payer health system, similar to Britain and Canada. That's what he favored. He says, why not tax everybody and provide health care? It was simple to him. And now he come up with a health care plan, this new plan. I can't believe this plan. Older people have to pay more. He thinks that if you have pre-existing conditions, you're covered. You're not covered. They could take it away from you. I don't think he could explain this new health bill they just passed. Could Donald Trump go on television for an hour and explain this health bill?
So if you could interview him today, now that he's president, 100 days into his presidency.
Well, he used to call me when he was running. I had great conversations with him. He'd call up and say, do you believe this? I'm ahead in the polls. I don't think he believed it. Do you believe this? No, I told him I couldn't vote for him because, like, for example, Donald Trump is in bed with the Christian evangelicals. Come on. Come on, the evangelicals? The evangelicals, I know them all, I've interviewed them hundreds of times. Do you know why they're pro-Israel? Because that's where Christ is going to come back, right? Shh. Why else are they pro-Israel? What?
They like Israel. The evangelicals like Israel because they support Israel, so...
They like Israel, why? Why?
You tell me.
You tell me why. I don't know why. Because that, they believe, is
the land. Ladies and gentlemen, please.
Okay, look, I'm sorry. He asked my opinion. I gave him my opinion. So all we are is we're human beings. We can disagree. We don't have to shout. I came here. I'm honored. I'm honored to receive this. I'm just telling you what my thoughts are. I like Donald Trump. I hope everything works out. I hope he can broker a peace between Israel and the Palestinians. Wouldn't that be nice? I've interviewed 7 presidents. They've all tried. Wouldn't we like to have peace? Who's against peace?
I want to ask you about...
You know someone who wants to die?
They'll tell you that the Palestinians want to die, right? Not the Israelis.
Oh, wait a minute. Some suicide bombers, right? Mm-hmm. One of the great heroes in World War II for America was Colin P. Kelly. Colin P. Kelly was the captain of a bombardier ship. He had 12 people on the plane. They were flying over a Japanese aircraft carrier. Colin P. Kelly ordered every one of his crew to bail out and took the plane and crashed it into the aircraft carrier and killed himself. We have awards in his honor. His children went to West Point. He was a suicide bomber. Was he crazy? So what I try to think is, why would people give up their own lives? I mean, that's crazy, and we have to fight that. I'm not saying it's justified. It's not justified. It's just if you're the parent of a suicide bomber, are you happy?
No, I don't think they're. I don't think.
Say yes. Yes.
I want to. In our
okay.
The last question.
I don't want my child to die. When did this get controversial? We're all in this. I'm Jewish.
Larry, finally, when you look at Israel, you look at the challenges it faces, and you see how divisive some of the issues are here. Look at how the crowd responds to every word that you have to say. That means they really care about you, and they really respect what you're saying. But what advice would you have for Israel today? You mentioned the PR war, you mentioned the challenges. What advice would you have for Netanyahu?
Well, I know Netanyahu forever. My first visit to Israel, he drove me to the airport. He was out of office. We had dinner, and he drove me El Al. El Al is one of my favorite airlines. What would I say to Israel? Stay firm, stay strong, negotiate. Peace is better than war. Killing is better than not killing. Try to get together. You're not going to be, look, try hard to work with your adversaries. Why is that bad? I mean, I just said, try to work with people whose opinions are not the same as yours, which is, I was raised as a Jew to respect that. Respect other people. I have great faith in the state of Israel. I think it, as Alan Dershowitz so eloquently said, no nation has done more in the area of rights of other people than the state of Israel. It's incredible in the area of growth and of new companies, in the area of pharmaceuticals. They're incredible. They're right with Silicon Valley. They may be ahead of Silicon Valley. I've seen some inventions here today that are incredible. Look at the genius. Here's what kills me about the Holocaust, and this is what comes in the heart of a Jew. Imagine if those 6 million people had lived. We'd have had a cure for cancer. We'd have had incredible music written. We'd had philosophers and scientists and doctors and lawyers. Imagine what that destroyed, that DNA took away. So I bleed Jewish. I am 100% Jewish. I'm not religious. I don't think there's a God looking down on me. But boy, am I Jewish.
And if you find that God, what would you ask him? The one question.
The one question I would ask God.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's hear it. Tuesday night, my guest is God. First, if Monica Lewinsky wants to come on, we'll bump God. No, God. My first question to God will be, did you have a son?
Ladies and gentlemen, Larry King.
Thank you.